Chapter 1564. They are all ordinary people. They shouldn't be able to walk out of Sin City alive, Gong Wei continued. System, ha ha ha, so straightforward. You said it yourself. They are all ordinary people. Killing them is meaningless. The person who wants to destroy the Rubik's Cube world isn't these ordinary people. It's the person hiding behind them. My guess is that the other party will choose ordinary people to destroy it. If we kill them, someone else will appear. Moreover, every city has its own rules. Whether or not the outsiders could leave depended on their intelligence and luck. Breaking the rules will easily cause chaos in the city. It's not worth it. What do you mean? Gong Wei also realized that it was indeed not worth it to kill a few ordinary people who didn't do anything wrong and suffer the backlash of the Rubik's Cube rules. Luring the snake out of its hole. The person who can threaten the existence of the Rubik's Cube world has always been hiding behind. What I want to do is wait for the other party to appear. Now, let's pretend that we don't know anything. Gong Wei felt that it made sense. Moreover, he had to find out what was wrong with this woman. He was always thinking about strange things. Tang Guo closed her eyes and fell asleep. Gong Wei didn't want to sleep. He opened his eyes and stared at her for the whole night. The more he looked, the more he wanted to look. The more he looked, the more he couldn't look away. He suspected that this woman had found some secret technique from an outsider to cultivate. That was why she was so strange. With Gong Wei's addition, the original 5-man team became a 6-man team. Gong Wei's appearance made Di Qinming suspicious. But a few days later, he saw Gong Wei following Tang Guo wherever she went. He even looked like he only listened to her. He didn't suspect anything at all. Yin Xiaofei couldn't help but whisper, he's simply a loyal dog. She's beautiful. Yin Rui continued, Xiaofei, I'm not teasing you. You're not bad looking, but compared to Tang Guo, you're really a little bit worse. Yin Xiaofei really wanted to beat Yin Rui to death, but what he said made sense. Every day, apart from asking about the Rubik's Cube world, they would go to the happiness tree to pray and say that they were happy. Every time, Tang Guo would get a basket full of happiness fruits. It really made the people around her jealous. Di Qinming was also very jealous. He had prayed for blessings for a few days, but he had not received a single fruit of happiness. All he had received were tree leaves. A dead leaf cost 1 magic cube coin, and a green leaf cost 10 magic cube coins. It was simply infuriating. As for the others, they had obtained less than 5 fruits of happiness. In short, Tang Guo was an anomaly. Forget about Tang Guo. What was more infuriating was that a palace guard had come. They only heard him say, happiness. After that, the happiness tree also gave him a basket of happiness fruits. Seeing this, Di Qinming was unhappy. Gong Wei's tone was clearly not as sincere as his. The tree of happiness was really a dog tree. There are still 5 more days before we'll be transferred to the next city. Yi Yingxue said worriedly, but I just heard that the Rubik's Cube world can teleport at will. We might be teleported to different cities. Originally, they were just ordinary people, so Happiness City was not considered dangerous. But from the news he had heard recently, in the Rubik's Cube world, only Happiness City was safe. Seeing that many people were secretive about the other cities, they knew that the situation was not good. Chapter 1565. Of course, Tang Guo would not be separated from them. She took out a few contract charms at the right time. There were exactly 6 of them. Di Qinming and Yi Yingxue looked at her and asked, what are these? These are contract charms that bind each other. As long as the few of us use the contract charms, we will be teleported together in the next world. Hearing this, the few of them were a little happy. Di Chinming asked, "Where did you get them?" When he asked, his eyes were full of deep thought. "I exchanged them with the locals." Tang Guo did not mind Di Chinming's attitude at all. "I get a lot of happiness fruits every day. They are very easy to talk to. I thought that since this place is very magical, there should be something related to it." Of course, these were not exchanged with the locals. They were things from her trading city. The people in Happiness City did not have them. But if the outsiders in the city had been to the trading city, they might have these things. No matter how smart Di Chinming was, he would not be able to guess this. When he heard Tang Guo say that she exchanged with the locals, he immediately dispelled his doubts. After the few of them used the contract charms, they lived the same life every day. Di Chinming could not get a considerable amount of happiness fruits at the happiness tree. He could only go to the food court and eat more food to earn Rubik's Cube coins. Every time, he could eat 150,000 and earn 150 Rubik's Cube coins. But when he saw that Yingxue could get 2 to 5 happiness fruits at a time and exchange them for at least 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins, he felt very unbalanced. Speaking of which, he had never been so poor. After saving for almost a month, he only had 2 to 3,000 Rubik's Cube coins. He was really helpless. As for Tang Guo and Gong Wei, they went to the shops every day and bought a mess of things. Gong Wei used all the happiness fruits he got to buy her a dress. Di Chinming thought that Yingxue had never suffered. In the past, he could buy her all kinds of things with a wave of his hand. Now, in order to save Rubik's Cube coins, Yingxue bought 2 sets of clothes that could be exchanged. He was embarrassed. Even Yin Rui and his sister were dressed to the nines and looked pretty good. "Ah Ming, you don't seem very happy recently. Are you worried about which city you will be teleported to next?" Yingxue asked. Tang Guo and Gong Wei were sitting at the side. When they heard their conversation, they hurriedly looked over. Gong Wei noticed that Tang Guo seemed to like to pay attention to Di Chinming. From her eyes, it was clear that she was not interested in Di Chinming. She seemed to want him to be unlucky. Because of this, he actually let out a sigh of relief. "Nothing." Di Chinming replied, "I just feel that the Rubik's Cube world is very strange. I don't know what strange things we will encounter next. But my luck isn't that good. I can't get that many Rubik's Cube coins in Happiness City. I'm sorry for making you suffer." "Ah Ming, what are you thinking? Isn't what's mine also yours?" Di Chinming was not comforted. He was a person who cared a lot about his reputation. After living in Happiness City for so long, his self-confidence and face were completely gone. In his heart, a question arose. How could such a strange and unreasonable place exist? If he had the ability, he would definitely destroy this strange place. Those who were forced to stay in Happiness City, were they really happy? They just tied themselves up in this place for the sake of survival. No matter how he thought about it, he felt that this place was evil and sinful. It would be great if he could destroy this place one day. Chapter 1566. I can feel it. It's an uncomfortable aura coming from Di Chinming. Gong Wei's voice only reached Tang Guo's ears. "You're right. This person is not friendly to the Rubik's Cube world." They were all city lords of the Rubik's Cube world. They lived and died together with the Rubik's Cube world. Di Chinming didn't hide his disgust at all. He instantly felt it. Now he finally understood why Tang Guo was so sure that the other party could bring danger to the Rubik's Cube world. There weren't many outsiders who entered the Rubik's Cube world who would reveal such a disgusting aura. Gong Wei, don't give yourself away. If the people behind you find out, we'll be following you for nothing. Don't worry. I can still do this. Tang Guo glanced at Gong Wei. Seeing that he was expressionless, she smiled and nodded. That's right. You won't show any other expression. Who knows what you're thinking? Gong Wei thought for a moment and said, I won't show any other expression because I don't want to. Those expressions are superfluous. It doesn't mean that I don't know how to. Oh, so you know how to. Tang Guo said with a smile. Then why don't you smile for me? The conversation between the two could be heard by the others. When Yin Xiaofei heard that Tang Guo wanted Gong Wei to smile for her, she almost spat out. How could she tease her boyfriend like this? If she had such a handsome boyfriend, she would definitely take good care of him. Looking at his face every day, she would feel comfortable. Who cares if he smiled or not? Gong Wei was silent. Why was this woman always asking for a yard after getting an inch? She made him sleep on the floor for almost a month and now she wanted him to smile in public. Looking at the surrounding eyes, he expressed that he couldn't do it. However, looking at her expectant look, he couldn't refuse. He really didn't know when he had this problem of not being able to refuse, and it was only towards her. He must find out what was going on. When we go back to the room, I'll smile for you alone. Gong Wei's mind flashed and he thought that this was the most appropriate way. He wouldn't smile foolishly in front of these people and be seen as a joke. He also wouldn't let her down. He didn't know that when he spoke like this, in the impression of Yin Xiaofei and the others, he was a soft, well-behaved and obedient boyfriend. His image was long gone. Tang Guo had a meaningful look in her eyes. In the end, she revealed a very doting smile. Okay, since you like to smile in the room, let's go back to the room, okay? She tugged at Gong Wei. Let's go, boyfriend. Let's go to the room and smile for me alone. Gong Wei, did he make a wrong decision? Who knew that she would make it happen on the spot? What he said just now was just a delaying tactic. He thought that she would forget about it after turning around. Especially when he felt the ambiguous gazes of the others, Gong Wei felt that his innocence was at stake. However, his legs did not listen to him. He actually obediently listened to her and returned to his room. I want a boyfriend like that too. He's good-looking, gives all his money to his girlfriend, and is obedient. Does Gong Wei think that we don't deserve to see his smile, so he only showed it to Tang Guo? Yin Xiaofei held her face and said enviously. Yin Rui knocked on her forehead. Go back to your room and sleep. You can have everything in your dreams. There's no one else here. Gong Wei, you can smile for me. In the room, Tang Guo crossed her arms and looked at Gong Wei, who was standing upright. Gong Wei's face was stiff, but when he heard her words, his expression became even more serious. Chapter 1567. Gong Wei was about to ask if he could stop smiling. However, he saw that Tang Guo kept looking at him. If he said that he would go back to his room and smile, he would feel like he had shot himself in the foot. He revealed a slightly helpless look. Then I'll give it a try. System, an unprincipled person. Then I'll wait. To be honest, I haven't seen you smile before. I'm really looking forward to it. Gong Wei was a little embarrassed at first, but when he heard that she was looking forward to it, her beautiful eyes were really filled with anticipation. He had a feeling that he had to smile today to show her. Gong Wei pondered for a while, trying to recall the funny things that had happened to those outsiders. Eventually, he thought back to how Di Qinming would only get a single leaf every time he prayed for blessings. That caused his lips to curl up into a faint smile. TSK, you look quite good when you smile. Was he being praised? He was obviously doing something that did not suit his status. Why did he feel a little happy? The next rotation will be the day after tomorrow. Tang Guo changed the topic and did not make things difficult for Gong Wei. The next place is Fun City. How do you know? Gong Wei asked. The contract talisman was actually useless to the two of them. She took it out just to keep the four of them together. When the world of the Rubik's Cube rotated, they could just follow the four of them. As for where Di Chunming and the other three would be teleported to, even they, as the city lords of the Rubik's Cube world, could not predict. I calculated it. Do you believe it? Yes. He did not believe it. He was not stupid. This woman indeed had a secret. That secret must have existed when he was in a trance that day. However, no matter how he thought about it, he could not guess what her secret was. Facing Gong Wei's deep gaze, Tangua did not care. He could guess. Anyway, he could not guess. On the day when the world of the Rubik's Cube rotated, all the people who knew about it came to the streets. There was also a strange phenomenon in the sky. The sun, which was originally a sunny day, was falling rapidly in the sky. The locals seemed to know something. At this time, there was no one on the streets. They were all outsiders from various places. Those who knew about it did not panic in the face of such a situation, even if darkness had appeared in the sky. On the other hand, there were some who didn't know what was going on, and those who had arrived a few days ago, who couldn't help but scream in fear. Yin Xiaofei hurriedly grabbed Yin Rui. Di Chunming also carefully protected Yi Yingxue in his arms. The most relaxed ones were Tangua and Gong Wei. Gong Wei didn't know if he was out of his mind. She was clearly fine, but he actually subconsciously hugged her in his arms. Gong Wei. What is it? You are becoming more and more of a gentleman. Gong Wei, he didn't want to, but his body seemed to be out of control. System, no, you want to. Actually, what you did was right. Nothing is absolute. What if something really happened during the teleportation? Didn't you protect me? Maybe. What she said seemed to make sense. Gong Weiye had no intention of letting her go. This time, he protected her in his arms with a clear conscience. He was surrounded by darkness, and the countless screams could not disturb him. Tangua heard Gong Wei's heart thumping and asked, "You didn't go out much in the past." "It's just a small rotation, but you're actually so nervous. Your little heart is beating like a few horses galloping." Chapter 1568. Tell me, are you hugging me because you're scared? Gong Wei, it's not like that. He moved his own hands. While Gong Wei was struggling, the surroundings changed again. A strong white light suddenly appeared in the dark night, blinding the people who had been keeping their eyes open. The moment they lost their sight, they felt their bodies fly up uncontrollably. When they exclaimed, their feet touched the ground again. At this time, they could open their eyes again. They collectively appeared in a huge square. The square was big, but it looked a little shabby. The sun in the sky rose slowly and hung above their heads. What is this place? The people who had just entered the Rubik's Cube world were curious about this place. The people who were transported to the shabby square were not only from Happiness City, but also from other cities. The veterans who wandered in the Rubik's Cube world had already gone in a certain direction. Gong Wei looked around and thought to himself, it's really Fun City. So, how did she know that they would go to Fun City this time? Then, did she know about every place they went to next? This should be Fun City, right? Yi Yingxue said. They didn't stay in Happiness City for a month for nothing. It should be, Di Chunming answered. Yin Xiaofei said curiously, is it the legendary place where we can earn Rubik's Cube coins by playing the rides in Fun City? We have to play it once a day. If we don't go, we'll be kicked out of the city. Let's go and have a look. It's great that we can earn Rubik's Cube coins by playing. Tangua didn't stop Yin Xiaofei. She was also curious about Yingxue. After some discussion, they decided to check out the rides in Fun City first. When they arrived at the destination and saw the scene in front of them, Yin Xiaofei's smile froze on her face. She looked around and asked, "Are they serious?" Yingxue couldn't help but ask, "Aren't they asking for our lives?" Yin Rui's legs were trembling. "Aren't they playing with our lives? There are some that aren't that dangerous. Let's go to those that aren't." Di Chenming took a deep breath. Everything here was unbelievable to him. What fun city! It was clearly a city that played with one's life. "I think that merry-go-round isn't that tall. Even if there's a problem, we won't get hurt. Why don't we try that?" Yin Xiaofei suggested and pointed at the merry-go-round. No one objected. However, when they reached the merry-go-round, there were already people on it. But looking at the crumbling merry-go-round that looked like it was about to break and collapse, Yin Xiaofei almost fainted from fright. It was a city of life and death. Bang! Suddenly, there was a loud noise that scared Yin Xiaofei so much that her legs trembled. Perhaps because there were too many people below, the top of the merry-go-round was unable to support the weight and collapsed. Yin Xiaofei and the others didn't have time to dodge the incoming dust and were covered in it. Gong Wei subconsciously protected Tang Guo in his arms, even though they were standing very close to each other. Why? Why did it collapse? Are the people inside okay? Yin Xiaofei was a little anxious. She looked around and didn't see a medical team. Then, many people climbed out of the top of the collapsed merry-go-round. Some of them were in a sorry state, some were covered in blood, and some even spat. "I knew it would collapse. Luckily, I'm tough." Those who were able to go on the merry-go-round first were all experienced players, so they wouldn't lose their lives easily. After these people left, the merry-go-round returned to its crumbling state. Yin Xiaofei pulled Yin Rui. "Let's go. This is too dangerous. I'll die if it collapses. Let's change to another ride." Tang Guo certainly didn't object. She held Gong Wei's arm and walked to another ride with the others. Just then, they heard a discussion. "There are 2 lunatics on the roller coaster. They've been hogging it and won't leave. That's because they're capable. They can earn 5,000 Rubik's Cube coins by riding the roller coaster. If I could fly, I'd go too. Can you guarantee that when the roller coaster starts running, the parts will keep falling down and you'll still be able to sit steadily on the chair and not fall off?" "No, I can't." Chapter 1569. Someone dares to ride a roller coaster? What kind of god is he? Yin Xiaofei had just witnessed the collapse of the top of the merry-go-round. She could imagine how dangerous the roller coaster was from the discussions of the people around her. "Dear host, I just saw a message in the group. Piaomiao Fairy and Silver Ring Independent Cultivator appeared. They said they were transported to the Fun City." The system inadvertently glanced at the group. This was a habit it had developed every time it went to a new place. The host couldn't pay attention to it all the time. This task was now the system's to avoid missing any important information. "They are asking you where you are now. Just tell them I'm also at the amusement park." "Understood." When the system sent a message, Tang Guo was also at the amusement park. His friends, who had been silent in the group, suddenly became lively. Piaomiao Fairy and Silver Ring Independent Cultivator were too focused on the roller coaster and didn't pay attention to the messages in the group. "Tongzi, when they see the message, tell them that my identity is a little special this time. I can't be too close to them for the time being. It's easy to arouse suspicion." "Okay, got it." Fun City, as the name suggested, was a whole city made up of entertainment projects. One could see all kinds of entertainment here. There were only things that one hadn't seen before. The only special thing about the Fun City was that all the entertainment facilities were extremely old. No, it should be said that they were shabby. Wherever they passed by, there were accidents happening all the time. Thud. 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 Screams of pain could be heard. Yin Rui and his sister's faces were pale. Yingshua's originally pale face was drained of all color. Her intelligent and beautiful eyes could not help but be filled with fear. Yingshua, don't worry. We can definitely find entertainment that isn't so dangerous. Di Chenming comforted her. At the same time, he hated this place more and more. If they didn't have any luck and strength, ordinary people like them would lose their lives on these rides. It didn't take long for them to find an entertainment that wasn't so dangerous. It was a seesaw for two. A seesaw for two required two people to play. One person had to sit on one end of the seesaw. One person had to play 100 times. During these 100 times, there was only one possibility that the seesaw would suddenly break. The players would at most suffer some minor injuries. If he had made sufficient preparations and reacted in time, he would not have been injured at all. Therefore, there were many people lining up at the seesaw. It was already noon. If they didn't have any fun, they would be chased out of the amusement park by nightfall. All the old players in the Rubik's Cube world knew that there were terrible monsters and beasts outside the city. The more dangerous the city was, the scarier it was outside the city at night. It was not an easy task to survive until dawn. No matter what, Di Chenming and the other three heaved a sigh of relief. They planned to get through the night first. Tang Guo was not interested in sitting on a seesaw. There were about 20 seesaws. Based on what she had seen so far, the seesaw would break every 3 to 5 times. Those who were sitting on the top did not react in time and fell on their butts. Anyone who had tried it would know how painful it felt. At this moment, there was some movement in the group. Chapter 1570. Piaomiao Ferry, Campus Bell, are you really in Fun City? Silver Ring, where are you? We are in Mountain Pass City. What do you mean when you say you can't be too familiar with us for the time being? I forgot to ask you what you're going to do in this world. Tanghua, I'm here to look for you. My teammates are queuing up to ride the seesaw. They probably won't be able to take care of me. The two of them were very happy when they saw the message. They said they would wait for her on the roller coaster. Every time they came to Fun City, they would choose the most dangerous ride. After all, the more dangerous the ride, the more magic cube coins they would get. According to the original plan, with the help of the original owner, she would take Di Chenming and the others to the most dangerous ride. With her help secretly, they wouldn't get hurt even if there were problems in those rides. There was everything in the trading city. The amulets she gave them were enough for them to play all the rides here once. Naturally, they would get a lot of magic cube coins. Tanghua didn't plan to do that now. If she wanted to get magic cube coins and not be chased out of the city, she would go and play on her own. Fun City wasn't ruthless. Small rides like the seesaw could be regarded as a lifeline for people who came to this city. Although they couldn't get many magic cube coins by riding the seesaw, they could save their lives. The difference between Fun City and Happiness City was that there were no local people here. There was no danger. You just had to agree to become a local. There were only outsiders and this dilapidated Fun City. Once someone died because of the rides, the Fun City would automatically clear the place and return to its original state. It was humane, strange, and scary. But as long as you didn't seek death, you wouldn't die. There were also greedy people who always thought that they were an exception. For the sake of high rewards, they would take on those dangerous projects and end up playing themselves to death. They knew that there was a 100% chance that something would happen, but there were still people who would risk their lives for magic cube coins. I'm going to take a look at other places, Tangua said to the others. Seesaw. Forget about it. If she really sat on the seesaw with Gong Wei here, the mayor of Fun City would definitely run out and laugh at them when he found out. Tangua, where are you going? Why don't you queue up and go after the seesaw? Otherwise, you won't be able to queue up when it's dark, Yin Xiaofei said worriedly. There must be those scary monsters outside the city. You two are so good-looking. You must be very popular outside the city. Yin Rui nodded. Yi Yingxue also said, Xiaofei is right. We should stay alive first. It's strange here. Will it be dangerous outside the city? Di Chenming did not say anything. The only people he cared about were the few people who came with them. People like Tangua and Gong Wei, who joined halfway and didn't come from the same place, didn't take them to heart at all. I want to go to other places. See if there are safer rides. Yi Yingxue wanted to say something but was interrupted by Di Chenming. Let her go. She might really be able to find a better project. It'll be another way. In Di Chenming's heart, he still felt that there was something wrong with Tangua. He had never dispelled his suspicions of her. Calm. Di Chenming was still suspicious and even fearful. Chapter 1571. Just like the original owner, who didn't leave any leeway and took out all kinds of magical things to help him, how could he not be suspicious? She just wanted to show a little bit of uniqueness, but these benefits couldn't be enjoyed by Di Chenming. Look at his mentality, balance, and unbalance, how would he suspect her? In the end, when he encountered that divine artifact dagger, would he still make the same choice? Host, I think that if you do this, he might choose to stand on the side of the divine artifact dagger without hesitation. He has already begun to grow crooked. He's already crooked, how can he be crooked? I didn't harm him, I just didn't help him. If because of this, he thinks I'm a bad person and wants to join forces with that soul to get rid of me, it only shows that he's narrow-minded. People like him like to be the center of attention and can't stand being controlled by others. Especially after seeing the magic of the Rubik's Cube world, he is no longer satisfied with dominating the mortal world. Believe it or not, if one day it becomes easy to get out of the Rubik's Cube world, no matter how dangerous it is, there will be more people who want to come in again. Tangua's lips were brimming with a smile. This place can satisfy everyone's desires, it's the heaven in people's hearts. No one can escape. Look at these people wandering in the Rubik's Cube world, they're still working so hard to get the Rubik's Cube coins. Is it really just to get out? They just want to get more things before they go out. Where are we going now? Gong Wei asked, but he didn't let Tangua let go of his arm. After nearly a month, he had already gotten used to being held by her at all times. When there was danger, he clearly knew that nothing would happen to her, but he still subconsciously protected her. He was becoming stranger and stranger. To see two friends. Gong Wei suddenly thought of what he had just heard, those two lunatics on the roller coaster. He had seen these two people before. In the Rubik's Cube world, there were also many people from the cultivation world, who left a deep impression on him. These two cultivators who crazily earned the Rubik's Cube coins and especially wanted to go out, left a deeper impression on him than other cultivators. Because they really wanted to go out. They had been here for thousands of years, but they didn't give up on treatment like other cultivators. Their desire to go out grew stronger and stronger day by day. Piao Miao Fairy and Yin Huan. That's right, it's them. Gong Wei hesitated and asked, when did they become friends with you? A long time ago. Gong Wei was very suspicious. A long time ago. The city lord of the Magic Cube world was born with the Magic Cube world. Other than the Magic Cube world, you can't go to other places. Until a new city lord was born, their lives would come to an end. At the end of their lives, they would have two choices. First, the death of life. The second was to become an ordinary member of a city in the Rubik's Cube world and live forever. Perhaps those two people had gotten to know her when he wasn't paying attention. Gong Wei didn't guess anything else because they had already arrived at the roller coaster. The roller coaster here was not only shabby, but the track was also steep and dangerous. Even if the entertainment facilities were brand new, they might not have the guts to sit on them. At this moment, the roller coaster was still running fast. During this period of time, many people had already fallen from above. Chapter 1572. Screams rang out, scaring the passers-by. Their legs and stomachs were trembling. They didn't understand why these lunatics would choose to ride the roller coaster. Those who dared to ride the roller coaster must have made their own preparations. Those who fell didn't lose their lives. Those who knew the situation were also envious. Riding the roller coaster for 5,000 Rubik's coins, these two lunatics were already famous. Every time they came to Fun City, these two lunatics would occupy the most dangerous entertainment. No one dared to fight with them. Fun City was different from Happiness City. Fighting was allowed here. No one would care if someone was injured, disabled, or killed. In addition to the entertainment, there was also a place that sold food automatically. At this time, only Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring were left on the roller coaster. The parts of the roller coaster were still falling down, and there were many people around watching. Some were dumbfounded, some were envious, and some were trembling in fear. After the roller coaster ran half a lap, the parts finally stopped falling. Everyone focused their eyes. Wasn't it about to stop falling? Because in the entire roller coaster, only the seats where Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring were sitting, and the wheels below were still supporting for some reason. Tanghua held Gong Wei's hand, and her gaze fell on the two of them. The two of them looked more excited. Piao Miao Fairy was wearing a white waist-length dress, and Wanderer Silver Ring was wearing a simple robe. Sitting on the roller coaster, the two of them looked like they were floating in the air. Silver Ring, look at that girl in the black dress. Is she our school belle? Piao Miao Fairy inadvertently glanced down and happened to see Tanghua standing in the crowd with an outstanding appearance. She's so pretty. She must be the school belle. Do you see? She's looking at me. I think so. But who's the man beside her? Who else could it be? He must be the school belle's gigolo. Just look at his face. Wanderer Silver Ring unconsciously touched his face. In that case, he still had the potential to be a gigolo, although he was slightly inferior to the man below. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had reached the end of the roller coaster. The two of them stood up at the same time. Everyone subconsciously looked at where they had been sitting. Only a few crashing sounds could be heard. It turned out that after the two of them got up, the chairs and roller coaster wheels they were sitting on had been shattered into pieces. How terrifying! These two lunatics. When the two of them passed through the exit, a pile of magic cube coins appeared in front of them. They casually put them away. Everyone was surprised to see them walk out. Don't they only ride the roller coaster on the first day? Could it be that he wanted to change the entertainment? It's only been 3 to 5 laps. Without waiting for their doubts to be resolved, Piao Miao Fairy had already arrived in front of Tanghua and shouted, "School belle." It's me. Wanderer Silver Ring was also very excited. I've finally met you. Come, let's go and play something exciting. How about it? To survive in this place, magic cube coins are indispensable. When you reach the exchange city, magic cube coins will be of great use. The more magic cube coins you have, the better. Piao Miao Fairy hurriedly nodded, indicating that this was the case. In order to save up magic cube coins to draw the key from the lottery box, she hadn't bought a dress for a long time. Let's play the pirate ship first. We can't play those particularly fierce ones right away. Otherwise, it would be boring. Chapter 1573. As Piao Miao Fairy spoke, she shared in the group that she was about to be on the same ship as Tanghua. She also sent a picture. It just so happened that there were people playing the pirate ship and watching the parts of the pirate ship fall. Friends in the group, it's a long story. Ziyun, it's one thing to play, but if you hurt the girl, don't blame me for being hostile. Qi Xiao and Mo Yuntian also hurriedly expressed that they couldn't hurt Tanghua. Actually, they also knew that Tanghua wasn't simple and wouldn't get hurt easily. However, they still couldn't help but worry. Then, Silver Ring glanced at Gong Wei. Are you afraid? In his impression, Gong Wei was Tanghua's gigolo. Gong Wei didn't understand. He only thought that Silver Ring was worried that he would be afraid. He said straightforwardly, I'm not afraid. I will protect her well. Silver Ring was amused. He thought to himself, a gigolo who's being kept still wants to protect our school belle. He's really overestimating himself. However, when he saw Gong Wei's expression remain unchanged when the pirate ship started shaking and the parts kept falling down, he was somewhat impressed. The school belle was indeed the school belle. The gigolo she was keeping was definitely not a simple person. You can get 2,000 Rubik's Cube coins for sitting on the pirate ship once. Piao Miao Fairy said, this is suitable for old players of the Rubik's Cube world. It's not recommended for newbies. If a newbie went up to play, it would be a dead end. There was no other way. When the surrounding people heard these two lunatics encouraging the beautiful couple to play the pirate ship, they became curious. Could it be that these two newbies were also experts? Under everyone's gaze, Tanghua followed Piao Miao Fairy and sat on the old pirate ship. The original appearance of the ship should be pretty good. The color was originally quite rich. Perhaps because it had existed for too long, the color on it had faded. Some parts were even rusty. If this was a ride in the mortal world, it would have long been sealed or replaced. There were quite a number of people sitting on the pirate ship. At least half of them were seated. Those who could play these rides, as long as they had been in the Rubik's Cube world for a long time, basically all knew each other. Seeing Tanghua and Gong Wei, these two unfamiliar faces, they couldn't help but look at them. When did you two come? The person sitting in front of them turned around and asked, do you know what's going to happen later? Do you have any life-saving talismans or floating talismans? If you don't, you'll die if you fall. In fact, the person who spoke was just an ordinary person. However, his luck was not bad. His journey had been very smooth. After accumulating a lot of magic cube coins, he bought a lot of life-saving charms in the trading city. As long as it wasn't someone who killed him, or if he killed himself, there would be no problem for him to survive. He was not reminding Tanghua out of kindness. He just wanted to see if these two newbies would be scared to death later. Even if he had some skills, when the parts of the pirate ship fell and his body sank, it would not be easy for him to avoid getting injured. As for those two from Misty Cloud, they were freaks and couldn't be compared. The pirate ship started to sway. The person in front stopped talking and his expression became serious. Even though he had a life-saving talisman, his face was still very pale. Gong Wei subconsciously hugged Tanghua in his arms. Wanderer Inhuan looked at his actions and was somewhat amused. This gigolo really knew how to please the school belle. Your reaction is not bad. You're becoming more and more gentlemanly. Tanghua did not refuse and allowed Gong Wei to hug her. Chapter 1574. Gong Wei glanced at the woman in his arms. Every time he hugged her, he felt very satisfied. It seemed that only by hugging her could the missing corner of his heart be fulfilled. Did you get the secret technique from them? Gong Wei suddenly leaned over to Tang Guo's ear and whispered, "One day a month ago, I suddenly felt that something was wrong, so I subconsciously came to find you." Now that he saw that Tang Guo and Yin Huan knew each other, he couldn't help but wonder if these two immortal cultivators had some strange secret technique in their hands and gave it to her to practice. "I didn't practice any secret technique," Tang Guo said with a smile, "but if I really practiced some secret technique that caused your abnormality, what would you do?" Gong Wei was stumped by the question. What to do? What else could he do? Now he couldn't control his behavior. It was as if his whole being was controlled by her, and he was especially happy. Is it difficult to answer this question? Thump. At this moment, a seat next to them suddenly caved in. The person sitting next to them screamed and then shouted in midair, "Damn it, why was I the first one to fall?" Then, there was the sound of the other person falling to the ground. At that moment, Gong Wei hugged the woman in his arms even tighter. He glanced down. That person was not dead and was climbing out of the ruins. Obviously, he was an old player who had a life-saving talisman. Those who didn't sit from the beginning to the end would have half of their magic cube coins deducted. Therefore, those who fell in the middle could only get half of their magic cube coins. Many people felt that the amusement park was playing hooligan. Take advantage of this time, you can think about it. Just as Tang Guo finished speaking, the person in the seat in front of them also fell down with a loud thud. That person limped out of the ruins. After getting the magic cube coins, he didn't leave. Instead, he stood aside and looked at the pair of unfamiliar faces on the pirate ship who were still hugging each other. "I bet 100 magic cube coins that they will look very ugly when they fall. I also bet that they will definitely fall quickly. In short, they can't stay at the end." As the parts of the pirate ship continued to fall, there were fewer and fewer people on it. Seeing so many veteran players fall down, Tang Guo and Gong Wei were still sitting steadily in their chairs. They felt a little unbalanced. Next, they would wait for the pirate ship to do something big. For example, they would fall from the top. He waited and waited. Even when it was over, the two of them had no intention of falling. Piao Miao Fairy and the other two also found it strange. They had all prepared ropes. When the entire pirate ship fell, they would directly use the ropes to hang on it. In the end, the pirate ship today was especially friendly, and they sat at the end. The four of them came down safely from the top. They did not bring Tang Guo to find other stimuli. After all, it was already a little late. At night, all the projects in the amusement park would stop running. "Let's go see how my teammates are doing," Tang Guo said. Piao Miao Fairy and Piao Miao Fairy looked at each other. They felt that their school bell's arrival in this world had something to do with the teammates she mentioned. When they arrived at the seesaw, Tang Guo saw Di Qinming, whose face was gloomy and a little swollen. There were also many traces of being beaten up on Yin Rui's body. Tang Guo raised her eyebrows slightly. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Have you sat on the seesaw?" Yingxue looked at the group of people in the distance and shook her head. "Yes. They are too much. What right do they have to occupy this place and take so many Rubik's Cube coins?" Yin Xiaofei said indignantly. Di Qinming clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. He suddenly raised his head and asked, "Tang Guo, have you found any safer entertainment on your side?" "No." Yingxue asked again, "Have you played any projects?" "Yes," Tang Guo said with a smile. "Gong Wei and I played on a pirate ship." "A pirate ship?" Yin Rui was incredulous. The kind that shakes and drops parts and throws people out. He almost didn't ask how they were still alive. Tanguo pursed her lips and said, "Mine and Gong Wei's might have been better. The pirate ship didn't want to hurt us, so we didn't fall." Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring looked at each other. It was the first time they saw the school belle acting cool face to face. The effect was indeed different. "Why don't we play on a pirate ship tomorrow?" Tanguo suggested. "What do you think?" Yin Xiaofei said, "Forget it." She couldn't guarantee that she would be so lucky. Di Qinming refused without thinking. "No, that's too dangerous. Schwaber isn't suitable." Oh. Chapter 1575. What happened here just now? Why are you in such a sorry state? Tanguo looked at Di Qinming and Yin Rue and asked. At the mention of this, Di Qinming's face darkened. Earlier, when we were lining up here, a few very scary people suddenly appeared and said that the seesaw field was theirs. If you want to sit on the seesaw, you have to pay 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins. Yin Xiaofei couldn't hide anything and spilled the beans. We didn't want my brother and brother Qinming to have a conflict with them. Yin Xiaofei's voice gradually became softer. We didn't win. Seeing that the sky was getting dark, each of us paid 2,000 Rubik's Cube coins to sit on the seesaw. Speaking of this, Yin Xiaofei was helpless and angry. The people here were strange and powerful. They didn't want to come to the seesaw. Only ordinary villains who had lived in the Rubik's Cube world for a long time would use this method to obtain Rubik's Cube coins. If we didn't get some Rubik's Cube coins in Happiness City, I don't know what to do today. Yi Yingxue was also worried. After all, they had to survive here for a month. Yi Yingxue hesitated for a moment and walked to Tanguo. Tanguo, if there's no other way, I want to borrow some Rubik's Cube coins from you. Is it convenient? Yes. Tanguo didn't refuse. How much do you want? I can lend you now. Yi Yingxue was relieved. Thank you so much. This way, at least we won't be chased out of the city. Yin Xiaofei and Yin Rue's expressions were also much more relaxed. Host, didn't you say that you don't care about them? Why do you want to borrow Rubik's Cube coins? I don't hate Yi Yingxue. Now that we're teammates, I have Rubik's Cube coins. Of course, I'll lend them to her. Yi Yingxue knows when to advance and when to retreat. Even though we're in the same team, she doesn't think that my Rubik's Cube coins are everyone's Rubik's Cube coins. She asked me politely to lend her Rubik's Cube coins. As for Yin Xiaofei, she's also a very innocent girl. Do you still remember when she bought the buns? She wanted to ask the old lady to buy a few more buns, including my share. I also don't want to see her driven out of the city. If someone remembers me, I can give them back 10 points. Besides, whether I care or not is not a matter of whether I want to or not. Why should I use a set of rules to bind myself to it? I like Yi Yingxue and Yin Xiaofei, so I want to help them. Can't I? Alright, you have the final say. Even after following the host for so many worlds, the system still did not understand the human heart and its host's ever-changing mentality. But Madam Host was right. Yi Yingxue, Yin Xiaofei, and Yin Rue weren't annoying. They knew when to advance and when to retreat, and they were polite. At the moment, they still had a pure heart. It seemed that the host liked this kind of person a little. He was as white as a piece of paper. In the end, Yi Yingxue borrowed 50,000 Rubik's Cube coins from Tanguo, which was enough for the 5 of them to spend 10 days in Fun City. She believed that she would be able to think of another way. This 50,000 Rubik's Cube coins was equivalent to their escape route. Di Qinming sat by the side, not saying a word. Seeing Yingxue actually humbly borrow Rubik's Cube coins from others, he was extremely annoyed. In all his life, he had never been taken advantage of like today. Chapter 1576. This place was really strange. He always felt that he was at odds with this place and that nothing he did would go smoothly. If he were in his previous world, he would definitely make sure that those villains who had taken over the seesaw wouldn't be able to take a step forward in society. However, this was the strange Rubik's Cube world. He only had a pair of hands. He didn't have wealth that could rival a country, nor did he have powerful strength. A few insignificant people could bully him, making him feel incomparably aggrieved. Tang Guo glanced at Di Chenming's lowered head from the corner of her eye. She knew that the other party was feeling very aggrieved and uncomfortable. That's right. He was used to the life of a proud son of heaven. How could he get used to this kind of life where everyone could bully him? Di Chenming was able to successfully reach the city of trade back then, all because of the original owner's golden finger. Tang Guo was a little curious. Could it be that without her, the rules of this world wouldn't open up another golden finger for Di Chenming? As the male lead, this didn't make sense. System, what's there that doesn't make sense? The host is already here. The male lead's halo is gone. That's normal. You can sleep on the floor first. In the room, Tang Guo said to Gong Wei. Gong Wei gently raised his eyebrows. Where are you going? Next door, to find my two friends to chat. I'll go with you. Gong Wei didn't even want to think about it, afraid that she wouldn't agree. You promised before that I can always follow you. City Lord Gong, I didn't realize that you were a shameless person in the past. Gong Wei didn't care how Tang Guo ridiculed him. He stood up and walked to her side, stretching out his arm in front of her. It's better to lean on me. You've been leaning on me for a month. Won't you be used to it if no one leans on you to walk? Tang Guo pursed her lips and placed her hand on Gong Wei's arm. Have you figured out what to do about the previous question? What question? Didn't you say that you're very strange and think that I've cultivated some secret technique? If I really cultivate some secret technique, what are you going to do? Gong Wei remembered this. To be honest, he had never thought about this question. What was he going to do? He couldn't control himself from looking at her now. Whatever she wanted to do, he only had one thought, and that was to satisfy her. Gong Wei recalled that Tang Guo had borrowed 50,000 Rubik's Cube coins from Yingxue. A Rubik's Cube interspatial ring appeared in his hand. He placed the ring in Tang Guo's hand. Take this. What? Tang Guo pinched the ring and asked knowingly, an engagement ring? No. Gong Wei had just said no when an idea flashed through his mind and he changed his words. If you think so, then so be it. He glanced at the ring. The style was quite nice. Fortunately, he took out a high-quality item and didn't use a Rubik's Cube pocket to casually take it out for her. Why is it filled with magic cube coins? Why are you giving it to me? Gong Wei coughed lightly. Don't you like to buy little dresses and trinkets? This should be enough to buy things in every city for the next few months. You think I lack Rubik's Cube coins? Not at all. Gong Wei never felt that she lacked magic cube coins. The city lord of the City of Exchange was the richest of the city lords of the magic cube world. Tang Guo's lips curved slightly. Then why did you give me Rubik's Cube coins? I didn't think too much about it. I just gave it to you when I wanted to. Gong Wei frowned slightly. So, what kind of secret technique did you cultivate? Tang Guo put the ring on her finger and looked at the exquisite ring with a smile. Oh. Chapter 1577. The ring, which was originally not suitable for him, became just right after he put it on his finger. It's a kind of soul-sucking secret technique that makes people unable to control themselves and treat me well without principles. Tangua's beautiful eyes said to Gong Wei, "Are you afraid?" Gong Wei's heart skipped a beat when he saw her watery eyes. Soul-sucking, making him unable to control himself and treat her well without principles. Wasn't this his current situation? Yes, now he was the one who wanted to dig out his heart for her to eat. Really? Really, Gong Wei, I said I want all the treasures in your hands now. Will you give them to me? Gong Wei opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, a ring appeared in his hand. When he saw the ring, he was stunned for a moment. This ring contained the best treasures in his collection. I believe you. Gong Wei pinched the small ring and handed it to Tangua. Then do you want it? Tangua laughed, took the ring in her hand and put it on Gong Wei's ring finger again. No. No. Why did he still feel a little disappointed? Tangua's finger landed on Gong Wei's heart. Her slender fingers, painted with red nail polish, gently landed on it. She could clearly feel Gong Wei's heart beating non-stop. Gong Wei was not prepared at all. With this woman's strength, she only needed to use a little force to dig out his heart. I'm cultivating a soul-sucking secret technique. From now on, you will listen to me. Everything you have, isn't it also mine? Gong Wei felt that what she said made sense. He was about to lose his freedom of life and was controlled by a woman, but he could not resist at all. On the contrary, he was happy, willing, and eager to be ordered by her. This secret technique was really powerful. It could make him willingly be controlled by her. Then what do you want me to do? Gong Wei's eyes were very clear. He could see everything at a glance. It was clearly written that he would do whatever she said. Didn't you say earlier that we were engaged? Tangua smiled and said, when I'm done, you can prepare your dowry and marry into the city of trade. System, give an inch and you want a mile. You just love to tease your cutie. Aren't you afraid that you'll break him? But was this how Gong Wei looked? It was simply a small matter, and she seemed to be quite happy about it. He really had nothing to say. This guy was the most unprincipled. No matter how cold his persona was, in front of his great host, he would completely collapse and become a loyal dog that acted as one. All right. Gong Wei answered without any hesitation. After answering, he felt that his heart was really satisfied. At this moment, he also hoped that she would settle the matter as soon as possible. Once she was done, he would belong to her. System, you've completely lost your moral integrity. Tangua held Gong Wei's hand and appeared in Fairy Piamiao's room. The two of them looked at each other when they saw that Tangua had actually brought this gigolo over. This is Gong Wei, Tangua introduced. If there are no accidents and he has been obedient, he will be my partner here. When Gong Wei heard this, he felt a little strange. She had a partner here. Could it be that she could go elsewhere? Hearing Tangua's words, the two of them did not mind and discussed things in front of Gong Wei. Chapter 1578. The school belle wasn't afraid that this person would know, so she dared to bring him here. This meant that he was on her side. School belle, what are you going to do this time? Piamiao Fairy asked. I think you already know that the two of us have been in the Rubik's Cube world for thousands of years, but we still haven't obtained the key to leave. Thinking of this, Piamiao Fairy felt wronged. Back then, she was a beauty in the cultivation world. Ever since she fell into this place, what kind of life had she been living? If it wasn't for that group that suddenly appeared, she would really go crazy. Wanderer Silver Ring also sighed. Piamiao, are you okay? I'm the unlucky one. Originally, I was going to hold a ceremony with junior sister the next day. Now that I suddenly disappeared, I don't know if junior sister has fallen in love with someone else. The two of them actually came from different cultivation worlds. After coming to the Rubik's Cube world, they had that group. After knowing each other in the group, the Rubik's Cube world rotated countless times before they finally met. From then on, they walked here together. Most of the people here were no threat to them. Even if the rules didn't allow them to become stronger, they wouldn't be able to leave. For a cultivator who pursued strength, this was undoubtedly restricting their growth. If their mentality wasn't stable, they would have already given birth to inner demons. This time, my target is Di Qinming. Tanggua didn't hide anything. As usual, she told the original story. Even if Gong Wei was beside her, she wasn't afraid. When Gong Wei heard Tanggua's story, his eyes turned cold. This coldness wasn't directed at Tanggua, but at Gong Wei. She really didn't expect that the Rubik's Cube world would be destroyed by a small character like Gong Wei in the future. Furthermore, he stabbed a dagger into her heart. System, are you focusing on the wrong thing? Alright, now you know that if you stab me in the heart and kill me, you can leave. Do you have any special thoughts? Tanggua said with a smile. Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring shook their heads, no at all. Although they weren't merciful people, they were still people who valued friendship. They wouldn't stab their companion to death just to leave. They could slowly think of a way to get out of here. Besides, Tanggua was now the city lord of the City of Trade, which was a good thing for them. The fact that Tanggua dared to say it so openly proved that she was not afraid. Logically speaking, they weren't that stupid. So, now you plan to lure the snake out of its hole? Yes. Fairy Piao Miao and Fairy Piao Miao both believed that the Magic Cube world was mystical and also had many strange places. However, other than being unable to leave this place, they had actually obtained many benefits. They dared to believe that there weren't many people here who were willing to destroy the Magic Cube world. Do you want to know how the two of you will die in Zhai Qinming's hands in the future? Tanggua's sudden words scared the two of them so much that their legs started to tremble. What? Did they have a share in this? Faced with their surprised gazes, Tanggua raised her chin and said with a smile, I have to tell you a very unfortunate news. You are also cannon fodder. I'm so strong. Wanderer Silver Ring was a bit unwilling. I can kill that brat with a single finger, but he can kill me. Fairy Piao Miao also didn't believe it. Yes, I spat on him and he fainted. How could they be killed by Zhai Qinming? Chapter 1579. The next world is the Fantasy Mirror City. Tanggua said directly, causing their expressions to change slightly. The city that the two feared the most in the Rubik's Cube world was the Fantasy Mirror City. In the Fantasy Mirror City, most of the people who died in their own hands. As soon as they entered the city, there were all kinds of illusions. It was like Zhuang Zhou dreaming of butterflies. It was unknown whether it was him dreaming of butterflies or butterflies dreaming of Zhuang Zhou. Everyone in the illusion would fall into a trap and die in their own hands if their will was not strong enough. This was the thing that cultivators feared the most. Especially in recent years, the two's state of mind was indeed not that stable. Silver Ring hesitated for a moment and said, School bell, is it true? Would I lie to you? Of course not. The two looked at each other with a heavy expression. Piao Miao Fairy said worriedly, 100 years ago, there was indeed a crack in our state of mind. To tell you the truth, every time we went to the Fantasy Mirror City, we came out in a very sorry state. So, I believe that we will die in the hands of a mere mortal boy in the Fantasy Mirror City. We just stayed here for too long and felt uncomfortable. The Rubik's Cube world is actually very good. If there is no worry in your heart, it is fine to stay here. Silver Ring said, I just want to go back and see how Junior Sister is doing. If she is still waiting for me, I have to go back. I can't let her wait forever. If she forgets me and has someone she likes, then it's fine. I am also worried about Master. I suddenly disappeared. I don't know how sad Master will be. How is our sect? Fairy Piao Miao frowned. If Master ascends and I go missing, my junior brothers and sisters in the sect will probably be bullied. If you want to go out, you must first ensure your life. Maybe you can get the key you want from the lottery box. Tangua said. When she returned to the city of trade, she would study the lottery box and see if she could secretly throw the game. The city of trade was her city, so she thought it was feasible. Gong Wei glanced at Tangua, feeling that she was planning something bad. Actually, after knowing that the campus bell is here, my state of mind has improved. Piao Miao Fairy said casually, the school bell can't stay here forever. She'll leave in the future, right? She won't leave us here and leave by herself, right? Wander Ainhuan also crossed his arms and looked at Tangguo with a smile, as if saying, you can't slip away by yourself. When Gong Wei heard this, his heart sank. He already understood that the woman holding his arm was not the original woman. Although he didn't know why, he couldn't sense that Xian had been replaced. However, there were countless miraculous things in this world that he didn't really care about. The magic cube world didn't expel her, indicating that it recognized her arrival. Tanghua held Gong Wei's arm as they walked out of the room. When they passed by the corridor, they inadvertently glanced down and happened to see Di Qinming, who was walking towards the entertainment area. She stopped in her tracks and Gong Wei asked, "What's wrong?" At this time, Di Qinming had already walked into the darkness and his figure could not be seen. Tanghua pulled Gong Wei back to the room before saying, "I saw Di Qinming. He went outside. I don't know what he's going to do. Do you want to follow him and take a look?" "No need. If someone really found him, wouldn't that alert the enemy? Let's see what the other party wants to do." Chapter 1580. Gong Wei didn't care about that anymore and turned to ask Tanghua, "After those things are settled, are you going to leave here?" While speaking, Gong Wei unknowingly hugged her and even used some strength. "You said that once things are settled, I'll bring my dowry to your city of trade. Are you going back on your words?" "System, host, don't you think you're a bit of a scumbag? Look, you just promised to marry someone and now your cutie thinks that you're going to leave after settling things. Look at how scared he is. Hurry up and coax him." Tanguo also didn't expect Gong Wei to be so involved. Seeing his eyes, there was actually a hint of pitifulness written in them. "You woman, you actually lied to me. You just promised to marry me and now you're going to leave." She was a little afraid that if she said she was going to leave, would he stay by her side and cry? "Gong Wei. No matter what excuse, you have to do what you promised." "System, ha ha ha, what a piece of sticky candy. Are you surprised, host? I didn't say I couldn't do it." Tanguo hugged his waist, "Remove the danger of the Rubik's Cube world and I will stay here until my life dies." "You're really willing to stay until your life dies?" Gong Wei said. Tanguo nodded, yes. Gong Wei's heart relaxed and he hugged her tightly. His voice was low and with some affection, "No matter what you are or what kind of secret technique you've cultivated, you have to do what you promised. You're the city lord of the Rubik's Cube world. Every word you say has to count. Otherwise, you'll be punished by the rules." Was this a threat? Tanguo pursed her lips and smiled, "Count, how can I not count? But the city lord of the Rubik's Cube life is unpredictable. I don't know when it will die." "System, is this a warning? After all, the host's life can only be extended by 20 years. It's okay. When we get married, we'll make a contract. If you disappear, I'll die too." When Tang Guo was about to lie down and rest, she saw that Gong Wei did not sleep on the floor. Instead, he climbed up and lay down beside her. He even hugged her. Seeing that she was staring at him, he said, "We're about to get married. It's not good to always sleep on the floor. You've already told others that not only are we engaged, but we're also living together. From today onwards, let's officially live together." With that, he hugged Tang Guo and closed his eyes. Tang Guo caressed his face and said to the system, "What an innocent guy. Hugging to sleep is cohabitation. Host, maybe you are too dirty. How is hugging to sleep not cohabitation?" The next day, everyone realized that there seemed to be something between Tang Guo and Gong Wei that hadn't been there before. Tang Guo also noticed that there was something different about Di Qinming's body. Gong Wei sized up Di Qinming and looked away. His voice only reached Tang Guo's ears. "I don't see anything wrong with him." "There's something wrong with him, but he's very secretive." Tang Guo also looked at Gong Wei. She only glanced at Di Qinming once before looking away, indicating that she wanted to go to the project. The two of them left hand in hand, leaving Di Qinming with their backs. Di Qinming's clenched fists also gradually loosened. They really didn't notice. Hee, kid, they're from the Rubik's Cube world. If they really noticed that there was something wrong with you, how could they leave without batting an eyelid? If you were found out, you would have been crushed to death by them. Now you believe in my abilities, kid. My goal is to get the medicine to cure Shue'er's terminal illness and then leave. Chapter 1581. Kid, the Rubik's Cube world is a place where there is nowhere to go. The mysterious voice made Di Qinming's heart sink. What do you mean? Last night, he was going to sleep. Inadvertently, a strange voice sounded in his ear, attracting his attention. In the end, he followed the voice to the entertainment facility and talked with the other party for a long time. Of course, he didn't see anyone. But the other party told him that he could help him through the current difficulties and help him get what he wanted in the Rubik's Cube world. And the other party only had one purpose, to use him to leave this place. Last night, they didn't talk about leaving the Rubik's Cube world. Now listening to the other party's words, it seems that there is no way out of the Rubik's Cube world. Kid, if you don't believe me, you can ask those people who have been in the Rubik's Cube world for a long time if they want to go out and why they don't. Then you will understand. Hearing this, Di Qinming believed 70% of it. Last night, the other party showed some magical power. For example, let those entertainment facilities run automatically, and there won't be the situation during the day. The other party also said that only when he goes to the trading city can he get what he wants. The trading city is rich in items, but the price is very expensive, requiring countless Rubik's Cube coins to exchange. In his current situation, it's difficult to save his life. How can he save enough Rubik's Cube coins? What made him even angrier was that the place told him that Tang Guo and Gong Wei, two seemingly ordinary people, are actually people from the Rubik's Cube world. As for their identity, the other party didn't say for the time being, but judging from the other party's tone, they are definitely not of low status. The people in the Rubik's Cube world like to pretend to be ordinary people and watch you outsiders struggle to live. The more miserable you are, the happier they will be. Think about it, isn't it like this all the way? Living in the Rubik's Cube world for almost a month, Di Qinming's life is indeed as the other party said. He is sullen, uncomfortable, living in this place cowering, unable to fight at all. And Tang Guo and Gong Wei, laughing and laughing all the way, as if they are really playing the world. And his miserable state, sullen, in the eyes of the other party, is probably laughing at an ordinary person like him for overestimating his own capabilities. If she really thinks of him as a teammate, how can she bear to see them struggle? Shua come to her and beg for help for the third time. Under such emotions, Di Qinming agreed to the mysterious voice and chose to bind himself to it. Then tell me, what should I do to get out? You should have a way, right? Kill one of them and you can go out. The mysterious person's gloomy voice sounded out, causing Di Qinming's entire body to turn cold. Kill one of them and the magic cube world will collapse. All of you trapped in the magic cube world will be free. They're not ordinary people. I can't kill them. Di Qinming knew his limits. Moreover, he was thinking about how to gain more benefits from this mysterious man. After witnessing all kinds of miraculous powers, no one would be willing to leave just like that. I will create opportunities for you, allowing you to obtain extraordinary strength. The magic cube world will be your training ground. Before that, you can't let the cat out of the bag. Otherwise, you'll be easily suspected. Chapter 1582. Shua you guys go to the seesaw first. Since it's still early and the entertainment city is so big, I want to take a look at other places. We'll meet again in the afternoon. Why don't I go with you? Yi Yingxue was still worried. Di Qinming touched Yi Yingshue's cheek. The entertainment city is so big. You're not in good health. How can you be too tired? If you're really bored, you can go and watch Tanghua and the rest play some entertainment. Tanghua and Gongwei have always been lucky. There shouldn't be any problems. Since those two were not ordinary people, Shua should not be in any danger with them. From Tanghua's previous behavior, she seemed to be close to Shua. Before he grew up, he could only trouble her to help him take care of Shua. Yi Yingxue only felt that something was wrong with Di Qinming today. Looking carefully, there was nothing wrong. Perhaps he was too anxious and wanted to find another way out. Di Qinming sent Yi Yingxue to the seesaw and saw that the villains from yesterday still occupied that place. Ordinary people who couldn't afford to offend them and didn't dare to play other entertainment could only obediently pay 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins to sit on the seesaw. Sitting on the seesaw could only earn them 100 Rubik's Cube coins. Oh, it's you guys. You want to sit on the seesaw today too? A burly man walked in front of the two. His name was Li Qingqiang and he was the leader of the villains. He glanced at Yi Yingshue's beautiful face and whistled. If you want to sit, 2,000 Rubik coins per person. If you don't have enough, you can use other things to offset it. For example, this beauty in front of you. Yi Yingxue was a little disgusted by his gaze and took out the Rubik's Cube coins. Li Qingqiang was a little disappointed. All right. Di Qinming's cold gaze swept across Li Qingqiang. He was really worried about Yi Yingxue and accompanied her to sit on the seesaw. Then, he brought the three of them to the place where Tanguo was sitting on the roller coaster before leaving alone. Yingxue, what's wrong? Yin Xiaofei looked at Tanghua and Gongwei. The two of them were actually sitting on a roller coaster. The parts of the roller coaster were constantly falling down. She was sweating profusely. In the end, Tanghua and Gongwei's chairs and wheels were intact. She couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. These two people were really lucky. She turned around and saw Yi Yingxue frowning, so she asked what was going on. I have a feeling that something is wrong with Ah Ming. Yingxue, you're overthinking things. It's definitely because of what happened recently that Big Brother Qinming isn't too happy. When we get to the City of Trade and get the medicine to cure your terminal illness, everything will be fine after we get out. I hope so. Yi Yingxue was still worried. She looked at Tanghua and Gongwei. After a round of the roller coaster, they still wanted to continue. She couldn't help but say, they must be cheating. Isn't that a cheat? Along the way, their luck is the best. When Tanghua was on the 5th round of the roller coaster, another lunatic joined in. It was a young man who looked like a ruffian. He wore a pair of ripped jeans and looked sloppy. He also wore a big gold chain around his neck. One look and one could tell that he wasn't a good person. The seat he chose was next to Tanghua. Another new face. Young people nowadays are always looking for excitement. Just now, there was someone who fell and hurt his head. There are always people who don't learn from their mistakes. Chapter 1583. When the roller coaster started, everyone could no longer see the expressions of the people sitting on it clearly. The young man leaned back in his chair leisurely and raised his eyebrows. His voice was as frivolous and indecent as he was. "Why are the two of you here?" He glanced at Gong Wei, who was holding Tanghua's hand tightly, and whistled. "Oh, the two of you are together. How strange. You don't have to say any more." I know. You're dating. Of course, you have to go on a date. Then, you came to my territory. I've been sleepy for the past 2 days. That's why I said something was wrong." The young man looked curious. His gaze was still sweeping across Tanghua and Gong Wei's faces. "Speaking of which, why are the two of you together?" His gaze shifted to Tanghua's beautiful face and he raised his chin. "Tanghua, why don't you choose me? I'm young and handsome, and I have a huge amusement park. I can say sweet words. You'll be happier if you choose me." Before Tanghua could say anything, Gong Wei glanced at him and said, "You look as shabby as the amusement park. Xiaogua has good taste. She won't choose you." He was as shabby as the amusement park? The young man's eyes widened. He looked down at his torn jeans, then at the dilapidated amusement park. Then, he sized up Gong Wei, who was wearing a suit, a tie, shiny leather boots, and a bald head. He laughed out loud. "Gong Wei, are you kidding me? You're actually wearing this to ride the roller coaster?" Then, he glanced at Tanghua's beautiful little dress and pointed high heels and decisively shut up. "What I mean is, it's actually more dangerous to ride the roller coaster when you're dressed so nicely. I can protect her," Gong Wei said matter-of-factly. He put one hand on Tanghua's shoulder and threw a handful of dog food at the young man's face. The young man spread his hands. "All right, are you really here for a date?" "Zhonglu, there's a person called Zhai Qinming. I want to see his situation now. Get him out and take a look." At this moment, other than Tanghua's group and Piaomiao Fairy's group, everyone else had already fallen. The young man's name was Zhonglu, the city lord of Fun City. Hearing Tanghua's words, he didn't refute her. He opened his palm, and as his consciousness moved, the name Di Qinming appeared on his palm along with a portrait of Di Qinming. "I've checked. There's only one person named Di Qinming in Fun City. Is he the one?" "It's him." After receiving confirmation, the image on Zhang Li's palm changed, and Di Qinming's location appeared. However, the place where Di Qinming was at was actually a cloud of fog. Di Qinming could not be seen at all. If Zhang Li hadn't specifically looked at Di Qinming and casually scanned the area, he wouldn't have noticed that there was someone here. The roller coaster in his amusement city was no longer under his control, as if it was controlled by a mysterious force. He tried to control it, but was stopped by Tanghua. "What happened?" Zhang Li stared at the white fog, his expression dignified. "Is there something fierce that broke into the magic cube world? It's more like lurking than breaking in." Tanghua looked at the cloud of fog and said, "Don't act rashly and alert the enemy. Di Qinming is currently my teammate. I'm just informing you. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be vigilant at all times." "Interesting. Zhonglu glanced at the white fog on his palm. Chapter 1584. When the roller coaster was about to stop, Zhonglu flipped his hair and smiled at Tanguo. Tanguo, are you really not going to consider me? If I dress up, I won't lose out to Gongwei. My amusement park is so big, but I've always been lazy. I don't want to spend time to change the facilities. If you consider me, I can spend a lot of money to renovate this place. I won't consider you. Tanguo rejected him directly. I'm not interested in people like you. Ah, that really hurts my heart. Zhonglu was sad for a moment, but soon he smiled again. Are you serious? Yes. Gongwei replied. Don't come between us again. Otherwise, I'll take you to Sin City and let you experience the feeling of being shot to death 1,000 times. When Zhonglu heard this, he was so frightened that his entire body trembled. Sure enough, this man would only show such a soft side when he was really moved. Okay, I'm just saying. I can't afford to raise the city lord of the city of exchange. I can't afford to offend him. How could any girl like him in this shabby place? The girls outside didn't want to stay here. He was the only one in the amusement park. The girls from other cities definitely wouldn't want to come to this place. Therefore, he would be lonely for life. Tanguo and Zhonglu didn't choose to ride the roller coaster. Mist Fairy and Zhonglu didn't stop and continued to ride on it. To them, the more Rubik's Cube coins they could get, the better. The amusement park was the easiest place to get Rubik's Cube coins. They just needed to ride these dangerous rides. Yin Xiaofei looked at Tanguo with envy. Tanguo, you two are so lucky. She was so envious. Although she was jealous, she wasn't impulsive. She didn't think that she would be as lucky as Tanguo. She wouldn't fall to her death. Compared to rich Rubik's Cube coins, she wanted to live more. Where's Di Qinming? Tanguo asked knowingly. Yi Yingxue replied. Ming said that he wanted to go to other places to take a look. The seesaw has always been occupied by Li Qingqiang and the others. If this continues, we won't be able to make ends meet. Yi Yingxue was a little embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed to keep borrowing from you. Besides, I don't know what's going to happen next. I just bought a lot of life-saving talismans from that young man. I can lend them to you to use first and earn some magic cube coins. With the life-saving talisman, no matter what kind of entertainment you play, you won't lose your life or get hurt. Tanguo took out a stack of life-saving talismans and handed it to Yi Yingxue. Take it. When you earn Rubik's coins, you can return it to me. Yi Yingxue only hesitated for a moment before taking it. Okay, thank you. I will return it to you. At this time, it was useless to be pretentious and reserved. Besides, there was nothing to be reserved about. The fact that Tanguo bought a life-saving talisman could only mean that she prepared it for them. Yi Yingxue felt grateful, as did Yin Xiaofei and her brother. Tanguo watched as the few of them went to some less dangerous entertainment to play. She stood by the side and looked at them with a smile. Gongwei couldn't help but ask, I thought that your plan was to stand by and watch them go on. I only want to teach Di Qinming a lesson. He's too annoying. He actually used my mentality to send Yingxue and the others to me without worry. Since that's the case, I won't stand on ceremony. Chapter 1585. Di Qinming wanted to grow up secretly. Tanguo buried her head and smiled. Then she would help Yi Yingxue and the rest to grow up openly. Di Qinming looked at all of this and felt smug. He thought that this was good too. He would not stop Yi Yingxue and the rest from growing up with her strength. But he forgot one thing. Yi Yingxue and the rest were not ungrateful people like him. She put in so much effort to help them. If Di Qinming dared to do anything to her in the future, Yi Yingxue and the rest would stand up to oppose him. Tongzi, do you think Di Qinming will go crazy if Yi Yingxue and the rest speak up for me in the future? She still felt that it would be too easy for Di Qinming to simply kill him. It would not relieve her anger at all. System, no matter what the great host wants to do, I will support you. Do whatever you want to vent your anger. Di Qinming would be angered to death. At this moment, Tang Guo finally had a clearer idea of how to take revenge. Di Qinming could not be killed directly. As for the soul trapped in the Rubik's Cube world, she wanted to crush it directly. That thing would be a disaster if it was left alive. Didn't Di Qinming want to get out? Then she would make sure that Di Qinming would never be able to get out. The key to the Rubik's Cube world was in her hands. Without her permission, Di Qinming could only watch helplessly. What if others could get out but Di Qinming could not? She really had to study the lottery box. She had to mark the key. Whoever drew it could get out. She could not give it away. When the system heard Tang Guo's plan, it sighed in its heart. This woman was really too evil. Gong Wei felt the scheming in Tang Guo's eyes. His heart skipped a beat. He asked softly, Xiao Guo, what do you want to do? I want to help Yi Yingxue and the rest grow up. I want them to be like fish in water in the Rubik's Cube world and not be so passive. What's your purpose? To anger Di Qinming to death. Gong Wei held her hand tightly and said, I will help you. What should I do? He wanted to help her no matter what she wanted to do. He only thought that it was fine as long as she was happy. He desperately wanted to end all of this and go back to get married. System, look at how anxious she is to get married. What a joke. Tang Guo tiptoed and whispered into Gong Wei's ear, next, we're going to start picking things up. Picking things up. Let's pick up the cultivation manuals and treasures and share them with Yi Yingxue and the others. As for Di Qinming, he definitely won't want them. Furthermore, he won't be able to use the things we find. I don't want him to take advantage of us. All right. When they met in the afternoon, it was obvious that Di Qinming looked completely different. Tang Guo, on the other hand, sensed a dark and bloody aura from the other party. She instantly understood that the person behind this was not a good person. Even though Di Qinming's body was concealed by a secret technique, she could still sense that Di Qinming practiced some kind of demonic technique. In this way, it was convenient for her to do things. Since Di Qinming had cultivated a demonic art, she would let Yi Yingxue and the other two cultivate the orthodox arts. During the meal, Di Qinming regained his confidence and gave Yi Yingxue a lot of Rubik's Cube coins. The Rubik's Cube coins asked him where he came from. He said that he had encountered some fortuitous encounters and was lucky. In the future, he would not be so poor. Yi Yingxue believed him and did not ask further. Seeing that Di Qinming looked much better, she also heaved a sigh of relief. After the meal, Tang Guo took out a cultivation manual. I bought this from Piaomiao Ferry. Chapter 1586. Take a look and see if you can cultivate it. It's better to have some strength than nothing. Tang Guo said casually, making Yi Yingxue a little embarrassed. She knew Piaomiao Ferry. On the first day she came, she saw her and that wanderer called Yin Huan riding a roller coaster crazily. She heard that they were two crazy big shots from the Rubik's Cube world who came from the cultivation world. Who knew how many Rubik's Cube coins this secret technique would cost? She was at a loss for what to do with such a favor. Yin Xiaofei and Yin Rui were the same. Although they had dreamed of flying to immortality since they were young, this sudden favor still made them feel a little uneasy. They always felt that they were incompetent. Along the way, they had received a lot of favors from Tanguo. If it weren't for her, they didn't know what they would have encountered now. They might not have been able to walk out of the entertainment city alive. The road ahead would be filled with dangers. Truth be told, this cultivation secret technique was very tempting to them. Tanguo, you bought the cultivation technique. It's yours. You just cultivate it. Along the way, we've been taking advantage of it. I'm really embarrassed. Yingshue's cheeks were a little red. The life-saving talisman you lent me before is very good. With it, we can still get a lot of Rubik's Cube coins. Yes. Yin Xiaofei quickly nodded, although her eyes were fixed on the cultivation technique. Di Qinming was also a little surprised. Then he remembered Tanguo's identity and felt very disdainful. What did she mean by buying it from someone else? It was obviously her own. He didn't know what she was planning to do by taking it out at this time. Did she think that they would be a burden, so she took out such a low-level secret technique for them to cultivate? Is that secret technique a low-level secret technique? Di Qinming couldn't help but ask the mysterious person. It's a low-level cultivation technique. It's useless to you. But if your friends cultivate it, it's okay. They can protect themselves. It's good for you. Okay. Di Qinming was a complete novice when it came to cultivation. For a mortal like Yingxue who was suffering from a terminal illness and had a weak body, without the help of an expert, how could she cultivate a top-notch cultivation technique? She would not be able to withstand it. The low-level secret cultivation method that Tanguo gave him was low-level, but it was also entry-level. As long as he had a good foundation, he would be able to cultivate more advanced secret cultivation methods in the future, which would only get better and better. Di Qinming didn't understand, and the soul behind this only thought that Tanguo was afraid that Yingxue and the other two would drag her down, so she couldn't watch the show. In the end, under Tanguo's persuasion, Yingxue and the other two decided to cultivate. In order not to be suspected, Di Qinming recited the cultivation technique once. In the following days, Di Qinming left early and returned late every day. Yingxue saw that Di Qinming's mental state was getting better and better. Furthermore, both of them were cultivating cultivation techniques. Di Qinming's talent was definitely better, so she wasn't too worried. Di Qinming could now display some of his strength. After all, he had Tanguo's cultivation method as a cover. As for Yingxue and the other two, they spent half a day on the entertainment activities and the rest of the time on cultivation. After cultivating for 3 to 5 days, they all felt the beauty of the cultivation method and couldn't stop at all. All of this was under Tanguo's control. Seeing that the three of them were getting better and better, her smile became brighter and brighter. One morning, when Tanguo and the others passed by the seesaw, because they came early, the entertainment activities hadn't started yet when it was dawn. At a glance, they found several corpses lying on the seesaw. Chapter 1587. It's them. Yingxue recognized them at a glance. They were the people who would go to the seesaw early in the morning. They took advantage of the fact that they were experienced players in the Rubik's Cube world and charged for it. The leader was called Li Qingqiang. He was different from the others. He was lying face down on the seesaw. No! Just as Yingxue felt that something was wrong, Yin Xiaofei screamed. She quickly leaned into Yin Rui's arms. Brother, the seesaw went through his body. The two siblings were standing very close to each other. It was easy to see the seesaw sticking out from Li Qingqiang's back. It turned out that he wasn't lying on the seesaw. One end of the seesaw went through his stomach and onto his back. Li Qingqiang was facing them. It was early in the morning and the sky was bright. If one was further away, they wouldn't be able to see the situation. They would think that he was lying on the seesaw. Yi Yingshue's face was already pale. Now, even her lips were pale. What's going on? Who killed them? Yi Yingxue asked. These people were despicable. She didn't feel sorry for their deaths. She just felt that this world could take away lives at will. It made her scalp tingle. It was not that she was a saint, but if she had the strength, based on the previous behavior of Li Qingqiang and the others, she would have definitely taught them a lesson. She would not have chosen to kill them directly, let alone use such a cruel and alarming method. Yi Yingxue suddenly understood that this was a world without restrictions. If they met such a scary and mysterious person, they could lose their lives at any time. Happiness City was indeed the happiest place. Shuai, let's go somewhere else. Di Qinming's expression did not change. He carried Yi Yingxue in his arms and glanced at the corpses. A cold smile flashed across his lips. Perhaps they had done too many evil things and someone could not stand it. It's not surprising that they would end up like this. Yi Yingxue couldn't take it anymore. She was taken away by Di Qinming. Tang Guo stood at the spot where Li Qingqiang and the others were. She glanced at them and said to Gong Wei, "It's your first time killing someone. You didn't even bat an eyelid. You're amazing." Gong Wei didn't care about the lives of these people. They were the city lords of the Magic Cube world. In truth, the cities themselves weren't dangerous. As long as they were careful, they could survive. It was only the outsiders themselves who made life difficult for the outsiders. Wherever there were people, there would be fights and life and death situations. They had seen a lot of things like this, but they would never pay attention to it. As long as outsiders don't break the rules of the Magic Cube world, they won't interfere. And as city lords, the truth was that they couldn't casually kill outsiders. If they wanted to kill outsiders, there was only a single reason. That was that outsiders had threatened the Magic Cube world, violated the rules, and attacked them on their own initiative. Gong Wei recalled what Tang Guo had said. Zhai Qinming would stab her in the heart in the future. She felt a chill in her heart and hurriedly held her hand. Previously, he still had some doubts, but now, all of them were gone. "I won't let him hurt you." Gong Wei's voice slowly drifted into Tang Guo's ears, causing her to smile. "I know, he can't hurt me. I'm not sure about the others. Let's see what he's going to do next." Fairy Piao Miao and Wanderer Yinhuan also saw the deaths of Li Qingqiang and the others. Chapter 1588. Seeing that there was no trace of Di Qinming's aura on the corpse, she became more alert. The two of them looked at each other and decided to use this period of time to recover their state of mind so that they would not be tricked by that kid. That kid was really ruthless. He killed people just because of a disagreement. Although they felt that killing was nothing, they had their own principles and were not murderous maniacs. "Shuai, are you okay?" Compared to the others, Di Qinming was in a good mood. Ever since he met that mysterious person and was bound to him, his luck seemed to have changed. Everything went smoothly. Yi Yingxue still had not recovered. She was not in the mood to play any entertainment today. Li Qingqiang and the rest were dead on the seesaw. She could not play with the seesaw for the time being. "Shuai, why don't you take a break first and watch Tang Guo and the rest play? I'll go somewhere else to take a look." Ever since he started cultivating, Di Qinming had improved rapidly. Now, he could play many activities. Yi Yingxue did not suspect anything and only nodded. She had originally planned to go with Di Qinming. However, Di Qinming said that his luck was not very good. He was afraid that he would neglect her and provoke some strange people if he focused on the entertainment. He told her to follow Tang Guo. Tang Guo and Gong Wei's luck had always been good. She would not be in danger. Yi Yingxue knew her own body and understood that Di Qinming was worried about her. She was afraid that she would affect him. Therefore, she agreed not to follow him but to follow Tanguo. "I'll watch you play this morning." Yi Yingxue sat at the side with pale lips and said to Tanguo. Of course, Tanguo did not mind. She glanced at Di Qinming's back and said, "All right. If you really can't do it, go back and rest. Your health is important." "It's okay. I'll be fine after some rest. I'll definitely get used to this place. There are no rules here. Many things like this may happen in the future. Although my body is weak and sick, I'm considered lucky to have met you guys. I can't possibly be a burden while all of you are improving, right?" Yi Yingxue had never felt that she should be taken care of by her teammates because she was weak and sick. It was really rare for a teammate to disregard everything and give her a cultivation technique that he had spent a lot of money on. Although that cultivation method could not cure her illness, after practicing it, her body had indeed improved a lot. Furthermore, she was no longer as weak as before. Even before she met Di Qinming, she had never thought that he would be the one protecting her every single time. Yi Yingxue sat by the side and watched Tanguo play all kinds of dangerous games. She was also slowly cultivating. When Misty Fairy saw Yi Yingxue's actions, she couldn't help but nod. Among those people, the one that caught her eye the most was Yi Yingxue. This woman was generous, tactful, and kind. She was also able to distinguish right from wrong. Her body was delicate, but her will was firm. "Do you believe me now?" When Di Qinming heard the mysterious voice, his expression softened. Then when will I be strong enough to fight them? If this were the Magic Cube world, then no outsider would be able to deal with them. They were born from the world of the Magic Cube and had a special status. Ordinary things can't hurt them at all. When the voice said this, there was a hint of annoyance. Then what should I do to be able to take their lives in the future? Chapter 1589. Di Qinming was a little anxious. He didn't want to be played like a toy. What's the hurry? When the time comes, I'll give you something. Just do as I say and it'll be easy to take their lives. What you need to do now is to hurry up and cultivate. Try to cultivate to the peak of your strength before you go out. Di Qinming calmed down. He thought of last night. Those people were terrified and begging him for mercy. In the end, they were easily killed by him. He even directly pierced Li Qingqiang onto the seesaw. Seeing the other party die in front of him, he finally vented the anger in his heart. The feeling of being in control of the whole situation returned to him. The few corpses on the seesaw had been automatically cleared by the entertainment city when the sky was bright. They disappeared without a trace. The seesaw still looked like the original seesaw. After Tanguo and Gong Wei finished playing, they came back with Yi Yingxue and passed by here. They couldn't help but look at the seesaw. The scene in the morning was still flashing in their minds. During lunch break, Zhonglu appeared in Tanguo's room. He looked at Gong Wei holding Tanguo's waist. The two of them were acting ambiguously and were whispering something. He revealed a look of embarrassment. "It's noon. I didn't expect you to disturb me. Sorry for disturbing. What's the matter?" Gong Wei didn't let go of Tanguo. The two of them leaned against each other and looked at Zhonglu at the same time. Zhonglu almost ran away. No matter where it was, a single dog was always the most pitiful. What else can it be? That Gong Wei is improving too quickly. I'm here to ask you if you're going to continue with the original plan. Tanguo looked up and asked, "Can you guarantee that if we attack him now, we can catch the person behind him?" "No." Zhonglu was a little distressed. Then at the last moment, can you guarantee that we can catch the person behind him? Yes. Zhonglu, fuck, doesn't he want face? This woman is really getting more and more annoying. If I'm not wrong, the place where the soul is really attached to is in that dagger. As long as we can find a way to get that dagger, there will be no problem. This was Tanggua's initial plan. Seeing Zhonglu staring at her, she said, I know what you're trying to say. You're just trying to say that the dagger is in the City of Trade. Why don't you just use the ability of the City Lord to find the dagger, right? Yes. But what if that dagger is not currently in the City of Trade? Even if it is, it must have used some kind of special method to conceal itself. No matter how hard we try, we won't be able to find it. Zhonglu suddenly understood. That's right. Since he can hide from my eyes, there must be something powerful about him. That's not right. He can hide from my eyes. He looked at Gong Wei and asked, Gong Wei, don't tell me that you also noticed his abnormality. Gong Wei replied, I didn't notice. So, Tanggua was the only one who discovered it. Zhonglu was a little happy. He laughed and walked in front of Gong Wei. He stretched out his fist, intending to hammer Gong Wei's chest excitedly. In the end, he was stopped by a wooden fan, causing his fist to shrink back. I just want to express that Gong Wei and I are the same. Zhonglu laughed awkwardly. He really didn't know what this woman meant. Chapter 1590. Tanggua retracted her fan and patted Gong Wei's chest with her small hand. Only I can hammer his chest. Zhonglu, all right. I can't afford to offend her. This woman was indeed more powerful than him. She was good at everything, but she was unreasonable and possessive. Gong Wei hadn't even married her yet and he had already become her possession. But seeing Gong Wei acting as if he was hers, she really couldn't get angry. Then I'm leaving. If there's anything you need me to do, remember to let me know. Zhonglu turned around and left, muttering, actually, I don't like people dying in my own place. It's very polluting, okay? Can't I just have fun and earn Rubik's Cube coins? Anyway, dead people are disturbing my sleep. Zhonglu came out of Tanggua's room and bumped into someone. He only heard the other party cry out. When he focused his eyes, the person he bumped into was about to fall. He hurriedly supported her. Hey, girl, are you okay? He knew this girl. Wasn't she Tanggua's teammate? In the morning, when she saw those dead people, she was so scared that her face turned pale and she quickly burrowed into her brother's arms. What a coward. I'm fine. Yin Xiaofei patted her chest and pushed Zhonglu away. What do you mean by, hey? You bumped into me. Shouldn't you apologize? How rude. Zhonglu chuckled and shook his hair that he thought was very handsome. He shook his legs in his tattered jeans and put his hands in his trouser pockets. He whistled. If I didn't help you, you would have been lying on the ground and crying out. Yin Xiaofei also chuckled. If you want me to lie on the ground and cry out, you have to pay for it. Zhonglu was stunned. What did she mean? Get out of the way. Yin Xiaofei pushed Zhonglu away and knocked on the door. When she heard Tanggua's voice, she pushed the door open and entered. Zhonglu was left standing at the door, a little confused. He remembered that Yin Xiaofei was an outsider. He caught an outsider and asked her what she meant. Not long after, Yin Xiaofei came out and saw Zhonglu sitting on the railing not far from the door. He smiled at her. Yo, old lady, you're out. Lie down and let this young master have a look. This young master has Rubik's Cube coins. If you cry out, this young master will spit 1,000 at you. How about it? Old madam. Yin Xiaofei was furious. She was only 19 years old this year. What old lady? She was still young. This indecent loafer was really annoying. Wait a minute, that's 1,000 Rubik coins. Yin Xiaofei rolled her eyes and said to Zhang Lu, don't leave if you have the guts. I'll show you later. With that, she pushed the door open and went back in. Tanggua, come out and testify for me. Yin Xiaofei moved closer to Tanggua and said, it's a good thing. There's a spendthrift outside. I cried out and he gave me 1,000, but I was afraid that he wouldn't give it to me. Oh. Since you know him, I'll share half of the Rubik's coins with you. After Tanggua understood the whole story, she almost laughed to death. Zhang Le didn't expect Yin Xiaofei to ask Tanggua to testify. He quickly stood up straight. Old madam, what do you mean? Just you wait. Yin Xiaofei jogged away. Not long after, she took a blanket and laid it on the ground. She even did a yoga pose. Under Zhang Li's incredulous gaze, she started. I-oh, 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 remember to give me the Rubik's Cube coins. Zhang Lu. Chapter 1591. Zhang Lu was dumbfounded the whole time Yin Xiaofei was lying on the blanket and crying out in pain. He had seen countless outsiders, but he had never seen such a shameless outsider. Moreover, she was a young girl who was not even 20 years old. She really did that. Yin Xiaofei's throat was a little dry from all the talking, but she could get 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins for each cry. It was much safer than playing those scary games. Wasn't it just lying on the ground and being called an old lady? Thinking about the large amounts of Rubik's Cube coins in her pocket, she seemed to have regained her strength and continued to cry out. Zhang Li's teeth chattered. He walked to Tanggua and whispered, she's the one who's being unreasonable. He slapped his forehead, very annoyed. Tanggua glanced at him and said indifferently, how is she being unreasonable? She pretended to be an old lady on the ground and blackmailed me. Zhang Lu was speechless. He did not want to be taken advantage of. Weren't you the one who provoked her first? Weren't you the one who said to give her 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins for each cry? Yes. You still call her old lady. This is the most intolerable thing for women. No woman cannot be angry when someone calls her old lady. And now that she's showing you that she's old lady, you can take it. You have to fill the hole you dug yourself. Tanggua said with a look of justice, Zhang Lu, I can't help you this time. You're being unreasonable. She's still a young girl. You've lived for so long. Don't bully her. Zhang Lu was speechless. In the end, Yin Xiaofei was only satisfied after Zhang Lu took out a large amount of Rubik's Cube coins. She kept her word and gave half of the Rubik's Cube coins to Tanggua before leaving happily. Before she left, she waved at Zhang Lu with a smile. Next time, you can call me old lady. Just give me Rubik's Cube coins. Earning Rubik's Cube coins like this is really easy and carefree. Zhang Lu said, Sister Xiaofei, you're really young and beautiful. You're not old at all. Hearing Zhang Li's words, Yin Xiaofei left in disappointment. Zhang Lu glanced at the imitation bag in Tanggua's hand and left silently. They were in cahoots. From that day onwards, Zhang Lu officially joined the team. When he was free, he would put his hands in his pockets and bicker with Yin Xiaofei. He had learned to be smart. No matter how they bickered, he would never mention Rubik's Cube coins, which disappointed Yin Xiaofei several times. Di Qinming seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. Seeing that there was only a week left, Di Qinming actually started to ride the roller coaster with Tanggua every day. Even if he didn't sit steadily at the end like Tanggua and Gongwei, he could still rely on his own skills to wait until the end like Fairy Piao Miao and Gong Wei. Yin Rui was extremely envious of this. No matter how hard he tried to cultivate, he was unable to catch up to Di Chenming's footsteps. He could only be envious. Those two are immortal cultivators. On the roller coaster, the mysterious voice sounded. They have all kinds of treasures in their hands that can be used to find the outside world. The cultivation method that Fairy Piao Miao cultivates is very suitable for your woman to cultivate. Wanderer Silver Ring's cultivation technique was suitable for Yin Rui. If you can snatch the cultivation method from their hands, then you won't have any worries. I have no enmity with them. Di Chenming hesitated for a moment and said, in the Rubik's Cube world, there's no such thing as enmity. Getting what you want is the right thing to do. You won't achieve great things if you're too soft-hearted. Chapter 1592. And you see that they have a good relationship with Tanguo. If you do anything to Tanguo in the future, they will definitely stand on her side. Sooner or later, they will be your hindrance. Why don't you find a chance to get rid of them first? Hearing that Piao Miao and Silver Fairy would stand on Tanguo's side and stop him from killing Tanguo in the future, the hesitation in Di Chenming's heart disappeared instantly. In fact, their relationship was really good. If he wanted to do anything to Tanguo in the future, those two would definitely stop him. Immortal cultivators were mysterious and powerful, so he had to be afraid. They have existed for a long time and are powerful. How can I deal with them? Di Chenming said this just to get information from the mysterious man. The other party must have a way to propose this. These two people have existed for a long time, but because they have been here for too long, cracks have appeared in their mental states. In other places, of course, you can't do anything to them. If it's in the Illusion Mirror City, it's easy to kill them. Is there anything special about the Illusion Mirror City? This place is a mirror that can reflect people's hearts, making people unable to distinguish between reality and illusion. No matter who it is, it's dangerous to enter the Illusion Mirror City. The stronger the person, the more dangerous it is. With my help, you won't be confused by the Illusion Mirror City. At that time, it's easy to take their lives when they have problems in their mental states. Hearing this, Di Chenming breathed a sigh of relief and agreed. He really had to get more items from outsiders. This mysterious man cooperated with him now, seemingly for his own good, but who knew what he was thinking behind it? He had to leave a way for himself. Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring were immortal cultivators, so they should have some strange, mysterious and powerful items in their hands. Tanguo leaned on Gong Wei's shoulder, and her voice came into his ear. Is it interesting? How did you do it? You can hear their conversation. A special ability. Tanguo smiled but didn't say anything. Gong Wei didn't ask much. Instead, he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He held her hand tightly and whispered, "That's good." In front of her, danger had nowhere to hide, so no one would be able to hurt her. System, host, how about this function of mine? He really didn't expect that he could actually monitor that mysterious voice after upgrading to this point. Not bad, Tongzi, you're really getting more and more powerful. Continue to monitor them. You're the only one they won't notice. Okay. He was very happy to be able to help his host. Today, it was time for the Magic Cube World's monthly cycle. Everyone who knew what was going on was standing outside. Watching the sun slowly set, the sky gradually turned dark. Misty, I suddenly feel a chill in my heart. What the school bell said is probably true. We have to be careful from now on. I feel it too. The school bell would never lie to us. The Illusion Mirror City is different. If you fall in, it will be an illusion. You have to be careful. Don't forget, you still have to go back and see your junior sister. No matter what you see inside, don't believe it. If you see the person you want to see the most inside, you must think about how you can get out. Yin Huan nodded. Understood. You too. Remember what you said. There was still a flash of white light. Those who were more experienced hurriedly closed their eyes. He waited for some light to appear outside before slowly opening his eyes. Tanghua and Gong Wei followed closely behind Ying Shua and the others into the illusion mirror city. When she opened her eyes, Gong Wei was no longer by her side. This was the uniqueness of the illusion mirror city. No matter who it was, they had to walk out of the illusion by themselves when they entered. Tanghua lowered her head and looked at herself. Her clothes seemed to have changed. She looked around and said, "It looks familiar. I think I've been here before." Chapter 1593. At this moment, Tanghua was in a very simple stone house. Inside the stone house, there was a stone bed covered with a thin layer of straw. In addition, there was a stone table and 2 stone stools. On the stone table, there were a few crudely made bowls and a basket made of wooden branches. The bowls were filled with water, and the basket was filled with a few fruits that looked very green. At this moment, Tanghua was sitting on the stone bed. She was wearing a black outfit. She walked to the front of the stone table, and from the bowl filled with water, she saw her current appearance. When she saw her reflection in the water, she was stunned for a moment. The system did not dare to make a sound. It was a system, and for some familiar scenes, it did not need to recall. If it wanted to know, it could directly retrieve it from the database and see it clearly. Tanghua sat on the stone stool, her head buried in the bowl filled with water. She stared unblinkingly at the half-ruined face. Half of the face was devastatingly beautiful, while the other half was extremely ugly. Lines and lines of hideous scars covered that half of the face. She reached out and touched it, only to feel that the scars were a little painful. Not only did the scars hurt, but she felt that every part of her body was in pain, as if numerous needles were pricking her body. "Host, this is an illusion, not real." The system could not help but remind her. It was afraid that the host would remember some things and lose her mind. Tanghua looked away, no longer looking at the ruined face. She stared blankly outside the stone house, and replied, "I know it's an illusion." "So it's not real?" The system quickly added. Tanghua smiled lightly, her expression was calm, and her tone was emotionless. "It used to be real." The system did not know how to comfort her. It could only blame itself for not being sensible in the past, causing the host to face so many sad things alone. "He's coming back soon." Tanghua held the bowl, drank a mouthful of water, and said indifferently. The system trembled. Who was he? He was the person who gave the host help and gentleness in this world, but immediately betrayed the host because of the female lead. He also had another identity. He was the host's blood-related older brother in this world. However, the two of them were separated by an accident when they were young. As the host earnestly played the role of the female supporting character, she became the stepping stone for the female lead, until the female lead slowly matured and left that place. He just wanted to find a quiet place to spend the rest of his time. He didn't expect to meet Wen Chao in the stone house at the bottom of the cliff. Wen Chao is a gentle person. The host already knows that she and Wen Chao are biological siblings. After getting along with Wen Chao, she couldn't help but feel closer to him. Wen Chao didn't dislike her appearance. He even comforted her that appearance couldn't decide everything. No matter what, she had to live well. For the host who had just experienced the coldness of the entire world, Wen Chao's appearance was like a hot spring, slowly warming her body. The host's plan was to live at the bottom of the cliff for the rest of his life. She just didn't expect that she hadn't finished playing the role that belonged to her. The female lead was poisoned. Everyone thought that it was the host's doing. They followed the tracks and found this place, intending to ask the host for the antidote. At that time, the host lost all her martial arts, and her appearance was ruined. It wasn't easy for her to have 2 peaceful days, but it was broken just like that. Chapter 1594. Wen Chao thought that Wen Chao would believe her when the host said that she didn't poison him. Unexpectedly, when Wen Chao saw that the person who came was the female lead, Yun Qingxing, he immediately stood on Yun Qingxing's side without thinking. He even helped Yun Qingxing capture the host and interrogated her about the antidote. The system was scared when it recalled this. Even though it knew that this was an illusion, the host was right. Everything had happened before. The scars that some people had caused her would always be in her heart and could never be erased. "How are you?" His voice came before he arrived. Wen Chao's voice sounded so gentle and warm that people could completely let down their guard. Then, Wen Chao, who was dressed in white, walked in. He was holding some herbs in his hand and said with a smile, "Miss Tang, the injury on your face is a little serious. These herbs can relieve some of your pain." "Thank you." Tang Guo was cold and indifferent, so Wen Chao didn't suspect anything. He went to the side and started to fiddle with the herbs. The system didn't know what Tang Guo was going to do when it saw that she didn't do anything. For the past few days, Wen Chao had been taking care of her carefully. She seemed to be the same as before. If the system hadn't sensed that Tang Guo was very calm, it would have worried that she might fall into an illusion. Just like that, the 2 of them stayed together for a month. Suddenly, Wen Chao said, "Miss Tang, you're about the same age as my lost sister." Wen Chao had said this before. In the past, Tang Guo had planned to wait for some time to meet Wen Chao. However, the day after she said that, the male and female leads arrived with their entourage. "Host, why don't we break this illusion? It's actually not that interesting. Let bygones be bygones. We'll have to stay in the illusion city for a month. During this month, countless illusions will appear. If we break one, there will be another one. Why don't we relive the time when we were confused?" The system didn't persuade her. It couldn't persuade the host if she decided to do something. The next day, the male lead, Pei Yu, came with the female lead, Yun Qingxing. "Tang Guo, hand over the antidote," Pei Yu said. "It won't do you any good to kill Qingxing. If Qingxing dies, you won't be able to live either." Tang Guo was stopped at the door of the stone house. Pei Yu, Yun Qingxing, and some other people were on their side. They all looked at Tang Guo with hatred. These people used to be related to Tang Guo. But they didn't know when they had gone to the female lead. "I didn't poison her." Tang Guo had a smile on her face. One side of her face was beautiful enough to topple cities, while the other side looked like a ghost. "If it's not you, who else?" "Only you." Right. That's right. Qing Fu always let you have your way. You brought this upon yourself. Before you left, you didn't forget to poison Qing Fu." The smile on Tang Guo's face remained unchanged as she said, "Yun Qingya has offended many people in her life. There are so many people who want to poison her. Why do you all think that I'm the one who poisoned her? I don't think it's anyone else but you." Tang Guo leaned against the stone wall and stopped talking to them. She looked at the person who came back from afar. The person walked like wind as if he was flying. "What's wrong?" Wen Chao came to Tang Guo and asked. Then, he saw Yun Qingxing's pale face. His expression changed slightly. "Qingxing. Oh." Chapter 1595. She said that I poisoned her. Before the person on the other side could speak, Tanguo tugged at Wen Chao's clothes. I don't know what kind of poison it was, but it only acted up after I disappeared for so long. Wen Chao was stunned, and hesitation appeared on his face. You really didn't poison Qing Fu? Tanguo's lips curved into a faint smile. She only said, so boring. It really is an illusion. It's too unreal. With that, she placed a jade token in Wen Chao's hand. I'm leaving. An illusion is an illusion. It can't produce the same result, and it can't wait for the result you hope for. No one can change what has happened. Even if you change everything, you won't be the same person. In this world, there's no such thing as a second chance. Why should you hope for such a thing? I've traveled through many worlds and started to follow my heart. Everything was just because I couldn't calm down. I just wanted a different ending. It's just that I changed other people's paths. Tanguo looked at Wen Chao's stunned gaze as he stared at the jade token. Her lips curved. Everything in front of her shattered like glass. When she could see everything clearly, she found herself in a different environment. Naturally, her clothes were different. She didn't wait patiently like before. In the end, when she was impatient, she would say, "It's very fake. It's not real. It's too fake. Break it. It's too rigid. It's not real. This illusion needs to be improved." System, what else can I say? If the host likes to play like this, I can only silently accompany her. I hope the host can have a good time playing. No one knew that in a distant space-time. In a bamboo house among the clouds and the mountains, a gentleman dressed in a white robe woke up from his bamboo bed. The child beside him saw that the man's brow was filled with confusion and his eyes were full of astonishment. He hurriedly went forward and asked, "Young master, what's wrong? Are you worried about Miss Yun?" "Don't worry, young Master Pei and Miss Yun are very loving. Miss Yun's poison has also been cured, so young master need not worry." Wen Chao was stunned. He felt as if he had been dreaming for thousands of years. He couldn't remember if it was a dream or if it was now. He couldn't tell the difference between reality and illusion. "I'm not worried about Qing Fu." Wen Chao's mind was still filled with that dream, but before he could finish it, it shattered right before his eyes. Why would he dream of Tanguo who had been dead for a long time? Especially in his dream, he vaguely remembered that the other party threw him a jade tablet and then disappeared. He searched for her in his dream for a long time, but he could not find her figure. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. It had been 5 years since her death. Why was he dreaming of her? She was just a heinous person who would do anything to achieve her goals. Why did he feel a little sad? Wait, why does that jade token feel so familiar? Suddenly, Wen Chao stood up. He remembered the appearance of the jade card, and quickly took out the jade card that he wore close to his body. When he looked at the jade card, his eyes turned red. The jade pendant in his dream was exactly the same as this jade pendant. The child only felt a gust of wind blow past him, and Wen Chao was already gone. "Young master, where are you going?" The child anxiously shouted, but there was no answer. Chapter 1596. Wen Chao came to the stone house at the foot of the cliff. Next to the stone house was a tomb. In front of the tomb was a wooden tombstone that was almost decaying. On it was clearly written, "Tomb of Tanguo." Wen Chao stood there for a long time and finally began to dig the tomb. When he saw the rotting bones and lifted up the collar, wasn't there a jade tablet that was exactly the same as his hidden inside? He held the jade token and cried on the spot. His voice was so miserable and sad that the birds in the wilderness did not dare to approach him. Sister, you must hide this jade token well and wear it with you. Don't lose it. Sister, hide it well and wait for me to come back. If I don't come back, you must take good care of yourself. Remember, don't lose the jade token. In the future, we can use these two identical jade tokens to recognize each other. I'll become very strong in the future and won't let you be bullied anymore. When Chao's tears flowed down uncontrollably, he called in a low voice, Sister. Then, he put away the jade token and began to collect the bones. I'll take you home. I believe you. You're definitely not that kind of person. I'll find out the truth and prove your innocence. He thought of her in his dream. She said that she was gone without a care, and his heart seemed to be broken. He carefully carried a pile of bones and staggered away. He was no longer as spirited and elegant as before. He was as gentle as jade and full of bleakness and sadness. Why did he think that she was the one who poisoned him without asking about it? Why did he think that she was the one who did those evil things when he didn't see what she did and only listened to Yunqingya's words? They had been together for more than a month. Didn't he realize what kind of person she was? No, of course he did. He was just blinded by love and could not tell right from wrong for a while. Half a year later, young Master Wen Chao massacred the martial arts world and killed countless people. He crippled Yunqingya and Pei Yu's martial arts, imprisoned them, and whipped them every day. He became the #1 villain in the martial arts world and a complete madman. No one knew why the gentle and elegant young Master Wen Chao became like this. Tang Gui didn't know what happened in this distant time and space. Even if she knew, she probably wouldn't care too much. Host, do you want to rest for a while? These illusions are nothing to you. You can break them with a single glance. They're not realistic at all. Tang Guo was having a good time. How could she stop? I didn't expect that I would be so stupid in the past. I really believed in your rubbish system. Host, if you want to recall the past, then so be it. Please, Host, please forget about that stupid little Tongzi of the past. Everyone had been foolish before. Wasn't everything fine now? I still don't understand why I would be fooled by a wild system without a serial number. Tang Guo felt that this was very strange. Now that she looked at some of the things that happened in the past, she always felt that the unconscious her seemed to have her intelligence sealed by someone. According to her current temperament, the thing she couldn't stand the most was being threatened. This trashy system had actually fooled her for thousands of years. However, her little Tongzi seemed to be even more foolish than her in the past. She didn't know what kind of idiot had set her up to be like that. After breaking the illusion in front of her again, Tang Guo looked at the place where she appeared and was a little surprised. This illusion has improved. Chapter 1597. Guogua, don't go. Stay with me, okay? Tang Guo was sitting on the hospital bed. Her hand was tightly held by the man on the hospital bed. The man looked at her with a pair of sparkling and affectionate eyes. Guogua, I won't do any biological research in the future. I just want to be by your side, okay? If you like mathematics, then you can go and study mathematics. I'll accompany you every day. Stay, I'll bring you different flavors of ice cream every day. Whether it's summer or winter, when you want to eat, you only need to call and I'll come to your side immediately. System, Host, this is Wei Yu. It's really similar. Not really. Tang Gui denied and pulled her hand out of the man on the hospital bed. She said, that guy won't be as greedy as you. He chooses to follow me in every world, but he won't look at me with such a pleading and humble gaze like you, begging me to stay. I do like to eat ice cream because sweet things can make me feel good. But that guy is very stubborn and never allows me to eat ice cream in the middle of winter. If I eat ice cream in the middle of winter or when I'm not feeling well, he will lose his temper. It will take a long time to coax him. You don't act like it at all. System, oh, does the host remember it so clearly? It seemed to be like this. When that guy faced the host, he didn't have the original host for many things, as if he had lost himself. But really, the other party only indulged her because he liked her too much. Once she did something to hurt herself, that guy would really get angry. Oh, right, it was a small temper. The host had to coax him for a long time every time and had to promise that she wouldn't do that again. Only then would he smile again. Well, the way you in this illusion really didn't look like it. Even he couldn't be deceived. How could he become a careful host? Okay, you can get lost now. Tanguo waved her hand and completely ignored the shocked expression of Wei Yu on the hospital bed. She turned around and the illusion mirror shattered again. Host, although they are all fake, don't you feel nostalgic when you see these past characters? You don't even pretend. You really don't give face to the city lord of the illusion city. I can't help it. Hasn't that guy been sticking to me every day recently? He wished he could become my big pillow. Such a shameless and thick-skinned person left a deep impression on me. As for the past, too much time has passed, and I can no longer bring those feelings into my mind. I didn't like to think about the past. I just wanted to keep moving forward. The road ahead seemed brighter. Illusions and imaginations were ultimately not real. What could they do if they recalled the past? Futile. The host's heart was as firm as a rock. I'll take that as a compliment. Next, Tanguo saw many familiar characters in the illusion. He had brought her harm, but he had also brought her warmth. Unfortunately, the people in the environment did not act well at all. Although the illusory mirror was created by trying to figure out her inner thoughts, it wasn't that simple. Her inner thoughts were constantly changing, and they were often different. How could an illusion be successfully replicated? There was only one possibility for the illusion mirror to trick people into it. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.